tonight. Tonight, again, we are going to have another educator, and from the different part of the world. And our guest is an academic trainer and educational consultant at Kardeş Kitap and National Geographic Learning Türkiye, Amir Esmkhani. When he comes, we are going to start our live session with him. And thank you very much for Kardeş Kitap Evi and National Geographic Learning Türkiye to support our night tonight. And he's here. Hello, Amir, and you can send the request to join to the session so I can accept your request. Alright, I have seen it. No one. Okay. I have accepted it. Let me accept it again. Sometimes it takes time to join. Just a moment. I'll invite you again, Amir. Just a moment.
Welcome. Hi.
Hi, Amir.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see you. Just
Yeah,
a moment.
see you too. How are you?
I'm great. Just let me arrange my phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me too?
Yeah, now I can hear you clearly. Just a moment.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's okay now.
All right. Yeah. Good.
For this situation.
Okay, and I just want to say that thank you very much for accepting my invitation, Amir. And I'm really happy to see you here and tonight. And I would like to say I would like to actually thank you to Kardeş Kitap Evi and National Geographic Learning Türkiye to support us and to let us to have this live session.
It's a pleasure.
Second. All right, and if you're ready, can we start?
Yeah, let's get started.
All right then, Amir. And I know about you, Amir, but maybe our audiences would like to know about you. Can you tell us about yourself, please, and a bit about your experiences too?
Sure. So first I should thank you for having me here, Volkan. Actually, I was born and raised in Iran in a small town named Zanjan. I think you haven't heard of this small town. It's a small town between Tehran and Tabriz. So a lot of people in Turkey have heard of Tehran and Tabriz. And there's a very small population of about 500,000 people in the small town. So I was born and raised there. And I did a bachelor's in English literature in Tehran and also a master's degree in Tehran. I also postgraduate degree in Australia at Monash University in Melbourne. I started a language school in Iran as early as 2002, which is called ISI Language School. And then I had teaching career from 2012 to 2016 in Australia at Monash University. And I joined Kitab, which is the exclusive distributor of National Geographic Learning in Turkey since September 2020.
Oh, I see. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Amir, my next question is, what was or were your turning point or points in your own education?
Well, so I've got a very interesting story about turning points in my education, Volkan. Since I was until I was about 15, 16, my English was kind of trash. I can say almost zero until I was about 15, 16. But then I was motivated to learn English to impress a next door girl, neighbor. And then I was 16.
It's nice.
So I started my journey, which is still continuing from that age, and the motivation was to impress someone. And then, so I started, yeah, as late as when I was 16, and I was lucky enough to be admitted to one of the top universities in Iran. When I attended University of Balkan, the first few weeks were a nightmare and shock to me because
Oh,
English was so basic and low level, but a lot of my classmates were already English teachers in
oh, I see.
the Iran. But then, when I was graduating in the bachelor's program, I think I was one of the top students in that program in English literature. So I took the plunge, I took the risk of like being involved in an atmosphere and environment where a lot of top students were studying, and I think I made it. So it was a turning point. Another turning point in my life in terms of my education was, like I told you, I did a bachelor's in English literature, and I was thinking of doing a master's in English literature, but I changed from English literature to TESOL because I thought that my heart is more with teaching. That was also
Mm-hmm.
a point
I
in my
see.
life, my
Oh, I
education.
see. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your
Yeah.
memories with us here, Amir. Thank you. And
Thank you.
I know that you have been teaching for a long time, and now you are a teacher trainer and education consultant in Kardeş Kitapevi and National Geographic Learning. And during your career, probably you have tried different techniques, methodologies, and strategies in your lessons, and you try to teach them. And probably you have a kind of a philosophy of teaching.
Yeah.
So, what is it? What is your philosophy of teaching?
Well, Volkan, that's a very big question. Philosophy, I'm not sure if I'm qualified enough to say that I have a philosophy of myself, but just
Uh-huh.
what you said, based on my observations, based on my experience and the context that I've been, and I've been a teacher for nearly 30 years. Well, look, this can call for a very long session, Volkan, speaking about philosophy, but I'm going to cover it in probably a minute or two. You know how language teachers uh, actually know about two channels of acquiring or learning the language, a new
I see.
just so for a lot of teachers, uh, students should learn a language, whereas for some other teachers, the students can acquire a second language just like their mother tongue. Volkan, the more I teach, the more I study, the more I reflect on my own practice and on the
I
practice of a
see.
lot of other
Hmm.
teachers, I come to this conclusion that we can create an environment where students acquire a second language, a bit like their mother tongue, regardless of their age. We know that kids and teenagers have a better chance of acquiring a second language, and maybe we think that with being an adult, things are ossified and we are not that kind of, in terms of flexibility of the mind, we are not able to acquire it. But I think, given the circumstances, the right material, the right method, the right approach, we can still acquire a second language, even if we
I
are adults.
see.
That's what's happening to me in Turkey.
Hmm.
In the context of Turkey, I've never been to any formal courses or I haven't had any personal tutors to teach me Turkish, but I'm acquiring Turkish. Although my first language is Azeri, I'm acquiring Turkish in a very organic way. So my philosophy of teaching is we should try our best to give our students chances to acquire a second language. And of course, there are circumstances where we should teach them grammar, we should teach them vocabulary, but input-based language learning is so strong. We shouldn't force our students to talk. I've seen in
Uh-huh.
some context, a lot of teachers are forcing their students to talk. I think, according to Chomsky, if we like expose our students to natural language, the
Yes.
language acquisition device is going to take care of language acquisition. So we shouldn't really be worried about our students acquiring a language. And finally, to address your wonderful question about the philosophy of teaching, Volkan, I think we should be students. Teachers
I
need
see.
to be students themselves, literally and figuratively. I mean, sometimes we can enroll ourselves in courses just to see how our students are seeing language learning. And also in our minds and in our approach, we can always try to stay students, right? And I think this is gonna make us the best version of ourselves in terms of who we are as
Right.
language
I
learners.
see. I got it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Amir. And we are educators, and we have a lot of stories in our life, like some bad stories, some good stories, some failed, and some success stories. Can you tell us one or maybe two success stories of yours, something inspirational if you have? But if you want to talk about some failed stories, you can also tell us.
No one wants to talk about their failed stuff. So I think the biggest of all of them in my entire life was right after the outbreak of coronavirus, when a lot of businesses were shut down, a lot of people were hopeless. There was a lot of despair in the air everywhere. And at that time, I was in Iran, and I was actually running my language school, and we were facing the big challenges of the coronavirus,
Uh-huh.
the businesses were shut down. So I thought to myself, so what are we gonna do? So we've got to do something. And I invited the biggest scholars of this field, Professor Noam Chomsky, Professor Krashen, Professor Larsen
Wow.
Freeman, and some other people to give us webinars. And I wrote them very simple message, very simple English. I said, well, this is something that the outbreak of corona is something which has devastated, which has hit the whole world, and we are all in an equal situation. And for the Iranian audience who do not usually have access to first class webinars and seminars in the world, I am inviting you to give us a webinar. And welcome, to my amazement, to my shock, and to the shock of a
Uh-huh.
lot of people they accepted. So we had more than 10 webinars by Professor Krashen, one webinar which I called the event of the century in applied linguistics, where Professor Krashen, Professor Chomsky were both there. And then I invited Professor Larsen Freeman, and they
Wow.
accepted the invitation. So it was, I think, it was a groundbreaking experience for me. So I think it was the biggest success story in my life, and it changed a lot of things in my career and a lot of things in the career of a lot of people around me in Iran.
I got it. It's a really great story. Thank you very much for sharing with us. You know, I mean, we are educators, and especially as a teachers, we need to have some, the qualities and skills, okay, to teach to the students. And as a trainer, what are the most important qualities and skills an English language teacher should possess?
Mm. That's a very interesting question because I told you I started a language school in Iran in 2002.
Yes.
So I have always been in the business of recruiting teachers. So at this moment that I'm not talking to you, we have something about 60 teachers there working with us. And I'm really proud of each and every one of them in IG Language School in Zanjan, Iran. And also we have something over around 2,000 students there. So I always think about the qualities of a teacher and what qualities can make a teacher a qualified teacher. Because So at times you think that these are linguistic abilities, linguistic competence. Sometimes you think it's the social competence. Sometimes you think it's the psychological competence. Now, after running this school for 22 years, and after being in this field of teaching for nearly 30 years, I can say the most important quality for a language teacher is the knowledge of psychology, not the knowledge of language.
Oh, I see.
Some people might disagree with me, but I've seen enough teachers, I've seen enough students, I've seen enough scenarios to judge what could be the most important quality for a teacher. So we've had teachers who were so qualified, native, near native English. We also had teachers who were not actually in any ways comparison to those native or near native teachers, but they had good rapport with their students.
Oh, I see.
They had, and then in comparison, we could see that those who could relate to the students, those who could actually establish proper rapport with the students, those who had knowledge of psychology were more successful teachers, right? So I would say knowledge of psychology, of course, knowledge of theory, knowledge of the best practice in the market, in the field. These are really important, but like paving the way for the best thing to happen, for the learning to happen, I think it starts with a knowledge of psychology and knowing your students, caring about your students.
That's very important and very, the interesting point that you mentioned about it. Thank you very much, Amir. It's a very different point of view. Thank you. And we are teachers, and not only as a teacher, but when we think about all other jobs, the people need sometimes motivation to go to their work or to do the job that they love. When you think about yourself, now you're working as a trainer, and what is your biggest motivation to go to work every week or to do this job every week? What motivates you?
So motivation, the driving force to me, because I have a love for this job. I have a love for relating to people, caring about people, listening to people, sharing my knowledge with people. Any opportunity that I talk to people is going to be a wonderful motivation for me. Apart from that, since probably a few years ago, maybe after the outbreak of coronavirus welcome, I started thinking that every day can be a new experience. I mean, we talk a lot about tomorrow is a different day, embrace tomorrow, and there are lots of cliche type of sentences about these things.
I see.
In reality, I see every day as a new day, as a day of new experiences, as a day of new explorations, discoveries, new scenarios, new challenges. I'm not sure what kind of challenges and scenarios are awaiting me tomorrow. So in order to discover them, I'm going to start tomorrow with an open heart, with an open mind. I'm going to embrace the challenge. And that's going to be my motivation for every day. And honestly, in 20 some years of my experience in the field, I can say every day has been a kind of new exploration for me.
I see. It's wonderful to hear it. Thank you very much, Amir. And I hope that for all the other teachers and educators, for all of the jobs, that speech can be an inspiration for them to go to their work, to find their motivation. Thank you. All right. So this question is really critical for me, and I really wonder what are you going to say about it. You are working at the National Geographic Learning, and I really love the nature educational books.
Yes.
So, but there are a lot of books and a lot of the companies about it. But my question is, what makes National Geographic education books different than other books?
Yeah. So what makes it different is the fact that I'm working there.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's wonderful.
Okay, look, the thing is, Volkan, I know there are lots of wonderful publications and great books out there.
Yes, definitely.
Distinctive feature to me, there are a couple of items in National Geographic learning. Probably you've heard of the motto which says, we're trying to bring the world to the classroom and the classroom to life. That's the
Exactly.
motto of learning. So what's happening in National Geographic? The mission and vision of National Geographic, that's about inspiring people to care about the planet. That's encouraging global citizenship through understanding civilizations, culture, people, and educating people to care about the planet. That's the mission of National Geographic, right? Um, and a lot of people know National Geographic in the world. And National Geographic learning is a reflection of National Geographic. So we can say National Geographic has adopted an action-oriented approach to take the mission and vision of National Geographic, which is about the environment, which is about the planet, which is about civilizations, about global citizenship. National Geographic then has borrowed and copied these visions and visions to put that in the framework of language learning and help with global citizenship at the same time protect the natural world. So we can say language learning in National Geographic learning is beyond language learning. So we have
Oh, I see.
we have vocabulary. What are we going to do with this vocabulary and grammar? Are we just going to make like ordinary conversations or tackle grammar problems, troubleshoot vocabulary issues? No. We have a responsibility towards the world, towards people, towards civilizations and cultures.
Exactly.
And geographic books have a responsibility towards that, and hence the motto of bringing the world to the classroom and classroom to life. On top of that, in Bloom's taxonomy in education, which is a very, very significant framework for education, we see 6 layers of objectives in education. In National Geographic books, there's a beautiful blend and mixture of all these 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy, all the way from remembering to creating. We see not only lower order thinking type of activities, but also higher order analyzing, evaluating, creating. So activities enable the students to criticize, to think critically, to create. And I think these are some of the distinctive features of National Geographic products.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for this clear information about the books. I really love them. That's really great books. I have it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. So as you know that, I think in 2 weeks, the students will back to school, and I'm sure that the teachers, language teachers, they want to hear maybe 1 or 2, the nice and useful activities from you. If it is okay, can you tell us maybe 1 or 2 back to school activities? What can they do? What can you suggest them when they first go back to school?
Like 2 of the activities which I myself introduce to the environment of the classroom. One is find someone who is a very flexible and beautiful kind of an activity which lends itself to any type of teaching, grammar teaching, vocab teaching, any teaching. Then you can relate it to find someone who. Usually at back to school kind of environment and situation, I want the students to mingle with each other, to break the ice, to get to know one another and talk to one another, and then form a solid team. So I get them to go walk around the classroom, find someone probably who went abroad during the holidays, find someone who visited relatives, find someone who watched movies, find someone who went to a concert, and different types of things. So they're gaining knowledge about each other. They are making greater and stronger bonds with their friends in the classroom, and then you will see that the classroom environment will be more student friendly, and
Uh-huh.
it's going to help with sustained learning and sustained education, deeper learning. That's one
Got it.
activity I think they can do. Another activity which is kind of interesting, putting numbers on the board, on the whiteboard. Maybe everybody can put two or three numbers and get the others to guess what those numbers are telling everyone about them.
Oh,
So
nice.
instead of telling you things about myself, I put certain numbers on the board and I say, Volkan, what do you think these numbers are saying to you about me? And then you're going to guess. For example, now I'm giving number 4. If I put number 4 on the board, what do you think this is telling you about me, number 4? Any guesses?
Maybe you have been living in Ankara for 4 years?
Wow!
Really?
Amazing! Amazing. Yeah.
Wow, I just guessed. So
Let's,
nice. I'm impressed myself.
okay,
Thank you.
let's try another one. Let's try another one. 1. What is 1 telling you?
One. This is your first time you've been in Instagram live session?
Uh,
Maybe.
oh, no.
I don't know.
I have one son.
Say again? Hi, you have one son.
I have a,
Oh,
I have
wonderful.
I have
Wonderful.
a 21-year-old son who's a student. He's studying computer sciences in Canada, in Memorial University. Yeah, so numbers. I mean, you put numbers and you get people to like kind of guess what these numbers are saying about you, and this can be a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank
Not
you
too
very
much.
much
Not a,
for these nice two activities.
yeah.
And my next question again with this, the back to school about it. You know, there are a lot of, new teachers, I think, English language teachers,
Yeah.
when they go to the classrooms, are probably there, they feel very, excited. Maybe they're kind of like that. So what advice can you give them for the first week of the school? What should they do? I'm not talking about the activities.
Yeah.
You got my point. So what is your idea as a trainer? What advice can you give them?
So I hope I'm addressing your question, but you remember how I said knowledge of psychology is
Yeah.
very important.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say sacrifice the first week, maybe the first few days, even the first week, to set the rules, to introduce yourself, get to know your students, listen to their ideas even before you start the course. Listen to
Mm-hmm.
their stories of success or failure. I mean, when you asked me to share my stories of success or failure with you, it was a very interesting question. So in the classroom, we talk to our students, and mind you, I haven't said this, but this can happen in Turkish, not necessarily in English. So, I mean, any language that you actually makes your students comfortable to talk. So, talk to your students, listen to them,
Yeah.
and especially listen to their stories of failure. For example, if they think that they didn't succeed in their language classes before, why did that happen, or what were the reasons? So speaking about their ideas about their previous courses, their previous teachers, material, everything, and then you can clarify your expectations. You can listen to your students expectations. You can establish the rapport, which is going to be so important throughout the course. So
Mm-hmm.
beginner teachers or beginning teachers might jump into or dive into teaching right from the first session or the first week, thinking that time wise they might have future and they might have problems in the future or towards the end of the course. But I think dedicating the first few sessions, knowing about the students, explaining the rules, eliciting the rules from the students, will do the course really good. So
I see.
that's the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, it's really wonderful. Thank you. And I want to ask you questions about a very important topic, which is really, the common and very popular AI, artificial intelligence. We can't escape from it, as you know that. And there are a lot of educators or the teachers, that think that AI will, they replace the teachers someday. They think that, but I don't think so. That's my idea. But what about you? What do you think? AI will replace the teachers someday?
Well, it may, Volkan. It may, really. I'm so sorry I have to disagree with you here. I don't have that certainty to say no, because it's an infant. It's a very fast-growing infant, right? I mean, you cannot compare it. You cannot compare an infant to the collective wisdom of teachers, like which has been collected through centuries, thousands of years. Like our wisdom as human beings have been formed through centuries and millennia. But AI is a new phenomenon, so it's growing and it's growing really, really fast. Look, we know about human factor or human touch. We are hoping that AI is not going to take over. We are hoping that AI won't have that human touch. So human touch is something unique to us, emotional edge which we bring on the table. That's not going to be something that AI can possess. I don't have that 100% certainty to say that for 100% I'm sure that AI can't replace us. But um, I think I heard someone say, or I read somewhere, that AI will replace those who cannot tame and domesticate AI, right? So
I
AI is like
see.
a wild horse, and which is not tameable. But if you can tame and control and manage it, you're gonna be on top of AI. Otherwise, it may replace us. But I think we are going to wait and see what happens in the future. Hopefully, human beings are not replaceable. Let's
I see. I got it.
see.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so we start talking about AI, but my next question is again about AI. So, but you think that AI takes really important part in education. So, as an educator or trainer, what areas should we focus more with AI then?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, since actually the birth of AI, I've been thinking about this question. And then I think um, with AI, we have new possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So there were times like a few years ago, not decades ago or centuries ago, a few years ago, I mean, teachers went to any lengths to create texts for analysis in the class, for example. Teachers created questions for the class. Teachers created a lot of things, and it took a lot of time. Nowadays, AI, ChatGPT, and other AI tools have solved the problem. So we have less of laboring around teaching, less of toiling, more of critical thinking, more of creativity. So I think with AI, we are going to look more at higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy, hotter activities, if that makes sense, higher
I
order
see.
thinking, analyzing, evaluating, creating things with AI, and less of toiling and laboring, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's a wonderful breakthrough in education. So, and I can give you an analogy, like hundreds of years ago, when there were no washing machines. I don't know when washing machines were introduced to societies, but before then, there was a lot of labor, right? After washing machine, you didn't need to worry about washing things, and instead you could do more like advanced kind of things, And in education, I think we are going to go towards higher levels of education and creativity, hopefully.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Amir. So, and another question about AI is, you know that the AI is a, the very huge concept. So it's not easy to, the follow, or, we can't catch it easily. It's growing every second, maybe every second, every day it grows bigger and bigger. But sometimes, it helps us. Not
Yes,
sometimes, actually, it always helps us a lot
yes.
about, especially in education or in other, I don't know, jobs, whatever it takes. Who wants to use it like that? But when you think about the teachers and the students, this helping situation will, lead us become more lazy about other things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I mean is, will AI lead this generation of lazy teachers and students? That's what I mean.
Again, it may. I mean, I haven't seen the future, right? So it may lead to a generation of lazy people, teachers, students, and I mean, this is the dark side. For example, according to Professor Chomsky, AI, by AI, through AI, we avoid education, and that's one of the darkest statements about AI.
Uh-huh.
We haven't seen the future, yes. However, Volkan, I think that maybe some new qualities of human beings and our brains will emerge. I mean, when
I
there's
see.
AI and we are sure that certain responsibilities will be taken care of by AI, and I don't need to worry about creating questions, I don't know, marking my students' essays, and a lot of other things which are time consuming. Maybe I will think about higher value education as a teacher, and then I will introduce transformative pedagogy where my students will also need to come up with higher levels of thinking and creativity for a better world. I think maybe new qualities will emerge, but we are never sure.
I got it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Amir. Okay, and okay, about all my questions are done about AI. The time flies and we can't see the future as you mentioned that. But what about the 10 years later? How do you see yourself in 10 years? Will you still be a trainer, or will you try another job or jobs?
Welcome. That's a question you should ask young people, not me. Where do you
I don't
see
know. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe you will try another jobs.
actually, when you say, yeah, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? I mean, this question usually applies to people below the age of 30, maybe. For me, around the age of 50 now, 10 years from now, I mean, that's a very big step. That's a very big leap. But I love my job, Volkan. I love my job as a trainer. So maybe I will explore new areas in training. Maybe I will bring some more developed kind of edges by the use of like artificial intelligence, which we talked about, to my training. Maybe I will be a little bit into material development, maybe a little bit into book writing together with training. But like I said, we are going to be done with like toiling and laboring and writing
Mm-hmm.
and material. Maybe in 10 years' time, we will be talking about um, artificially generated books and designing artificially generated books which are customizable to different contexts and cultures around the world, which cater for different students with different backgrounds and which are available to the
Uh-huh.
majority of people across the world.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much, Amir. There are a lot of times we face in our life difficult or challenging times. And during that time, sometimes we say, "Oh, I wish I could have kind of a superpower, so I could easily solve this problem, or I could easily get rid of this problem. But when you think about this into the classroom, if you could have one superpower to use it, what would it be and how would it help you?
I have two responses for this one. One of my concerns in life and in my career has been critical pedagogy and equality and equity for people from around the world. I have always wanted equality for people, regardless of their background. Well, sometimes some students are disadvantaged just they didn't take enough courses in their lives and they cannot express themselves through English or even in their first language. So this is creating hierarchy of students, like top students who could enjoy like luxurious and rich courses in their lives because their parents could afford it, and then we have students who couldn't afford courses. I always hope for an equal situation where students can express themselves regardless of their first language. So maybe in the future, technology is going to give us that dream invention, which is going to enable our students to express themselves through their own language, but that's going to be automatically translated into English, voice activated, and in text as well. So that's one dream kind of I have for all the students in the world. I also have the dream of being able to motivate and engage the learners, right? I mean, our public enemy number one in education, Volkan, is students who don't have motivation, who are not engaged. So if I had that superpower to motivate and engage all the learners, all the participants to respond, to think, to talk, to reflect, I mean, that would be really beautiful.
I'm sure that would be really beautiful. Thank you, and for this great superpower to use. And I mean, there's a question, and Yasemin is asking to you. How can we integrate AI in EAP classes? This is her question.
Oh, yeah, that's a very important question. Look, I am not an expert in terms of incorporation of AI in education, honestly. I mean, it's trial and error in my career as well. So we're trying lots of ideas. However, I think the best person to consult, Yasemin, is ChatGPT itself. Honestly, ChatGPT wisdom about this question, I can say, is 100,000 times better than mine or more than mine, right? So I might have ideas, but if you go to ChatGPT, say, ChatGPT, I'd like to use AI in EAP courses. Give me some suggestions. And then you will see that there will be a plethora of suggestions about using AI in EAP in different contexts. So the best person, virtual person to consult is ChatGPT. Why me when you have ChatGPT in front of you?
Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Amir. All right. So think that, Amir, we finish the interview and you step outside your home and find the lottery tickets, you know, that ends up winning $100 million. What would you do? But be honest, please.
I'd share that with you, Volkan, because maybe without your interview, I wouldn't have found that money because this interview took me and I stayed at home and I'm going out now. Otherwise, someone else would have found that ticket. So I would definitely share that money with you. But with my share, maybe I would start a language school, a drama-based language school, which is always my dream. You know, drama pedagogy is one of my dreams. And running a language school which is on drama or drama-based, which doesn't really look into language acquisition through grammar or vocabulary, but scenarios, creativity. Probably that would be the language school I'd start, and most of the money would go there. But it doesn't mean that I wouldn't buy myself maybe a villa, a beautiful car, a couple of things.
Definitely, definitely. It's really great to hear you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Amir. And you know, okay, And the time flies, and now, I'm gonna ask you my last question and the most difficult one. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here is the question. What is your motto?
Oh, yeah, my motto is so I'm gonna borrow Professor Chomsky's motto,
Sure.
which is very similar to Steve Jobs' motto. You know, Volkan, how I said I met Professor Chomsky online. I had the pleasure of meeting Professor Chomsky, and I heard it straight from his mouth, from himself, His Highness, that let yourself be puzzled by the most ordinary things.
Hmm.
Don't take things for granted. We take everything for granted. There are kids around us, they start speaking at around the age of 1, and we take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. Be puzzled. Steve Jobs said, don't be settled. Don't get settled. Go for more. Achieve more. Want more. Explore more. Because
Exactly.
like this journey can be a very long journey. This is a lifelong journey. The journey
Mm-hmm.
of education, the journey of learning. So don't be settled yet. So the best is yet to come for you in your education, in your teaching, in your learning.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Can we have the motto again? That's really inspirational.
So uh, be puzzled with the most ordinary things that you see around yourself.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Amir. Thank you for this inspirational, the motto. All right. That's all my questions, Amir. And before ending our live sessions, would you like to add anything else?
Well, so if this interview is gonna be or is being watched by people or is gonna be actually shared with people
Sure.
who are new in the field of teaching or who have some experience and they need someone else's ideas, I have some very short sentences I can share with you in forms of bullet point, but spoken for sure. So I I'm repeating myself with some of them. You are a teacher, but be a student. So see learning from the student's point of view. Challenge yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. And when it comes to the material you're using, don't be the slave of your material, right? The material will be your slave. You are not the slave of the material. So use the material like source book, right? So use them as source. They are course books for sure, but you can use them as source books. Allow for the growth of creativity in yourself and in your students, right?
Sure.
So there's a lot of creativity in the students, and according to Ken Robinson, sometimes we are killing our students' creativity. And it's language learning. It's not math, it's not physics. So there's a lot of creativity in the air. We can allow for that to flourish. Be part of the student's solution, not part of the problem. So sometimes as a teacher, I'm part of my student's problem, right? They have problems in acquiring and learning a new language. I am part of that problem sometimes, but I should be part of the solution, right?
Yeah.
Be patient. And my final message to my fellow language teachers, especially non-native ones, stand tall and roar because you're already a success story yourself. I mean, you have acquired the language to the extent that you're a teacher. So if you do nothing and just talk to your students, you're a success story. You're a role model. Be proud of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amir. And I would like thank you for this nice ending. And I would like to say thank you very much one more time for your suggestions, for your advice, and for your great, the ideas that you share with us. And the most important thing is, which is your time. You spend your time here. Thank you very much. I'm really happy about it.
Thank you
And also,
for watching me. It's a pleasure.
I also want to say thank you very much to Kardeş Kitap to support us for this live session. And thank you. And Amir Esmkhani, I'm not sure if I'm pronounce your surname correctly or not, was with us tonight. And from Kardeş Kitap and Nation Geographic Learning, we had a fruitful session with him, and we talked about a lot of topics with him. And we are, as you know, that as a teacher talk, we are going to be here for the next week at the same time on the same day, as you know, that every Monday at 9 p.m. Until next time, wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody. And take care of yourselves, and take care of yourself, Amir. And bye-bye, everybody, and peace.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.